Well, this is a short video showing what I've done with the Rotary Phase Converter which powers this lathe. And originally it was positioned down here alongside the lathe there, and everything worked fine, but the problem was it was very noisy and it was difficult to film while the rotary converter was on. So at the back of the garage here there's a small shed, and I've put the rotary phase converter into the shed, and I'll show you that now, show you what I've actually done. Well, this is the little shed at the back of the garage, and the three-phase converter fits in here quite nicely, and I've wired it along the wall here, and it disappears into the garage through that hole there, and everything's working fine. But what I had to do was take the front panel off the phase converter, which contained the two switches, two push buttons to switch it on and off, and I put a blanking plate on the cabinet there to protect it all. I'll show you how I did that in a moment. And that little white thing is a little electric fan I've fitted, and every time the phase converter is powered up, that fan runs and keeps it a bit cooler. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but anyway, it's there now. Well, this is the new enclosure I've made. The front of it is what came off the phase converter, which is in the shed at the back now, and it was wired in with 6 black cables coming from the contactors to those two little buttons there, the green and the red, which are the on and off. And I've just extended those from the phase converter through to this little cabinet here. I'll show you those cables in a moment. Well, these are the cables coming from the phase converter, and there's 6 of them, and this is a 4mm multi-strand cable I've got. They were originally all black, but I've colour coded them at both ends so that I didn't get lost with the cables. And at the other end they're soldered and insulated with 3 layers of heat shrink, so they're fine. I regarded this as temporary for the moment to make sure everything was working, and I might get round to soldering these together soon, but at the moment everything's working fine. Well, I run all this past the guy who sold me the lathe. He's a mechanical engineer, and he seemed to think it was okay, there was no problems with it. The only concern was there's a possibility I could leave the phase converter running in the shed and forget to turn it off and leave it running, which was not as we wanted it. So what he suggested was connect it to a Lathe, which would be a constant reminder that it's all powered up. I'll show you that now. So as you can see, whenever there's power to the phase converter, this bright light comes on, and I can see that from the house. So if I ever forget, it's always a constant reminder. And this is live now. And to run up the lathe, now the phase converter is started up in the shed, and you basically just can't hear it, and everything's works fine. And as you can see, everything's working as it should. Well, there it is, the finished job. It's pushed back into its place at the back of the shed now. and you just can't hear it from inside the garage, so I'm really happy with that. Well, that's the little light. It's quite a bright light actually, but it's LED and there's no great load, and there's a little fuse spare on top of the switch there which drops it down to 5 amps, so that should be fine. But I can actually see that from the house, so if ever I come away and leave the phase converter running, I should get a reminder every time I look out the window. We'll see how it goes.